All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our live sit and talk this week. It's not our first live sit and talk, but it's our first new live sit and talk. Excuse the boring live studio. It is still a work in progress and the echoiness that is all here. And have video and audio. All right, looks like we're good to go. Colin is manning the computer. I've got my laptop here, or a laptop here, to be able to take questions and everything. And so this is our first time doing this with the new format, so we're going to kind of fumble around here and figure out exactly how we want to do this. Essentially, I want to give you the best of both worlds, because some people are like, well, if it's live, then I can't attend because I'm in the wrong time zone. Or before with our sit and talks, we gave Vault members kind of their own exclusive part where we'd only answer their questions. And so what I want to do is we still want to take questions from before. And what I'm going to do is I will answer both questions from Vault members submitted before the show, as well as people on the chat. And we're going to have a specific way that you can ask questions in the chat. Looks like Nightbot has already told them to ask questions. I didn't even turn it on. What's going on? I can open it up. I'll click open. Boom. So essentially, if you want to ask a question in the chat, you have to be on the Twitch chat, not on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, come on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/MiniWarGaming. And when you're in the Twitch chat, you put !ask, and then you put in your question. And now you can only do one question at a time until I've read your question. I'm not going to answer everybody's questions. I just won't have time to answer all of them. And so I'll pick and choose some that are as I'm going through them. But as I just go through the mouse, then, oh, killed the stream. Anyone else frozen? Are we frozen? Is it? I'm seeing it running, so.
It appears to be fine.
Yeah, appears to be fine. Okay, so we're all right there. Okay, so yeah, essentially if you want to ask a question on the stream, put !ask. So what we're going to do for next week will be with Josh and I think with Lee as well. They usually do it together. And so to prep, if you are watching the recording of this sit and talk afterwards. Not Lee, just Josh. Okay. So it'll be Josh next week. If you want to ask questions for Josh, then not here, obviously, but once the recording is put up, then on our website, you can put the questions in there. And it will take it to Vault members' questions, and we'll mix those in with live questions as well. And that way, it's okay if you can't attend the live one. If you're a Vault member, you can ask questions beforehand. I can't guarantee we'll get to your question. I never usually get through all the questions submitted. Like I've got 7 pages of questions submitted right here. And I wouldn't get through all of them in a 1 hour long sit and talk. And so combining that with what's going on here, I just pick and choose. It's meant to just to be kind of fun, go through, answer questions about pretty much anything that you want. And of course, if you are interested in helping us, supporting us in doing live streams and doing more live shows, there's a couple ways that you can show that support right now. Is you can follow us on Twitch. Also, you can donate at streamlabs.com/MiniWarGaming. That might be showing up in the chat occasionally. And if you donate, of course, then you can ask a question in there as well, and that'll pop up and I'll answer those as well if I can figure out how to read those properly. We're still working out all the kinks, let's just put it that way. Because I just decided to dive head on to this. I told Colin, we're going to do live shows, so let's redo the studio. And in the middle of him redoing the studio, I'm like, we're going to start now. And so he's just still scrambling to figure it all out and get everything working on the computers, and obviously still working on the studio. This is very bland. This won't be bland for very long, I promise. And so that'll be fun. So let's just jump right now to some preliminary questions that are coming in the live chat. I'll come back to the Vault ones. I'll kind of go switch between the two of them as we go throughout the show. We'll run for about an hour. That's the plan. We'll just kind of see how it goes. So the very first one from the real Corre, the real Corre, I'm not sure how to say that last part. The Canadian part wants to say Corre because it's EH in the end. Who is leading the Blood Bowl League since Quirk isn't in charge of it anymore? We don't currently have any plans for that yet, so that is on hold. So I click pick next, does it go away? Yeah, see, it went away, so now you're able to ask another question. So you should be able to do that. Wild Harvest, our banter bat rep's coming back. I really miss Dave. Dave is, yeah, I know he did a pie plate challenge just the other day, so I'm pretty sure they're coming back. Yeah, he is back now filming. He's been doing some like narrative campaign kind of stuff and other things too, but you should see him in more games. So I believe he's planning on doing banter bat reps as well. Darkstar9305, will you still be doing the Fallout Wasteland Warfare game? No plans right now. It just hasn't been able to fit in our schedule. So there's no plans there, but that doesn't mean that we won't. It just depends, and ask me again in a month kind of thing. Ninja Fish, Season 3 Gorka Morka? Season 2's not even done going out, man. Jeez, holy cow. But speaking of Gorka Morka, if you want to win my entire Gorka Morka mob, the little warband that I had, there's currently a giveaway going on. I don't have the links on hand, I should. But if you go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/MiniWarGaming, you should scroll down to find the post where there's a giveaway. And it'll give you the instructions on how to do that. Maybe I should get you that link. But you can win my entire mob, which is magnetized. So it starts off at 100 teeth and can go all the way to like 200 to 300 teeth. A nice size warband. So you can win that. Only one person's going to win, and you got to go to the contest to figure out how. Bullfrog 2070. Any suggestions for making Loyalist Luna Wolves as a 40k army? Well, you could just count as. Because obviously Loyalist Luna Wolves don't really exist anymore in Warhammer 40k. They were in the Horus Heresy, but then they became the Sons of Horus. Spoiler alert. So I would just count them as something. I'm not even sure what you'd count them as. Just Ultramarines, maybe? That kind of, just a generic thing like that. We are not live on YouTube. Oh, because why aren't we live on YouTube?
I think when we unconnected it.
But I thought we were streaming through Restream, not through Streamlabs.
I have it hooked up to the Restream. Streaming service Twitch. How did that come up? Okay. I know how to fix it. Or I should know how to fix it if you want.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. With the limited time before we become a Twitch affiliate, we want to try to stream on YouTube as well. But you know what? We told people on YouTube that we're streaming there too.
I know.
So.
Thoughts?
Well, how do you get on there really quickly?
I believe if I reconnect this, I can't do anything now, but it should just...
You mean we have to disconnect the stream to be able to do it?
Yes.
That's fine. Just means we'll have to edit the video afterwards to put it all together. Sure. All right. We'll be right back. We are going... Wild Harvest. Well, got my question answered. Off to another stream. LOL. Okay, so we're back on. Oh, and I'm seeing an ad on Twitch. Can we double check YouTube? Make sure is it streaming on YouTube? Okay, we're streaming on YouTube. I apologize, people on YouTube, that I said I was going to stream at 2. But apparently we just screwed up our settings as we've been trying to figure this all out. But now that I got you YouTubers, come on over to Twitch, because I am answering questions only over on the Twitch chat. And so make sure you go to twitch.tv/MiniWarGaming to come on and join us over there. And to ask a question, you put !ask, and then you can ask the question. That puts it into a cool little queue for me. And I'm also going to be answering questions that Vault members submitted beforehand. And just as a recap, if you want to submit questions for next week, which will be Josh, then wait till this is posted on our site, and then submit the questions there. And if you're a Vault member, we'll print them off and answer some of them. Okay, so moving on. Arcblaze, when you move to the bunker, will you leave your current space or will you hold on to the space at all? Yeah, we're definitely leaving this space. I don't think we couldn't afford to lease both of them at the same time. And we don't really, it would be nice to have both spaces, I'll be honest. But the new place should be big enough for all of our needs. Tioini, are there plans for more ITC-style battle reports? It wasn't a specific thing that we were doing. It's more just what the guests and the content producer were interested in doing together. So when a guest comes in, we kind of talk to them, figure out what they like, what they don't like, and we try to just make something that's fun for them. And that's the style that we go with. Beepity boopity 123. What will change with live and Vault views? Will there only be a 1-hour session here now? Yes, but Vault members will have exclusive access to having some of their questions answered. So while the viewing of it won't be exclusive to Vault members, all the pre-submitted questions that I will be answering will be from Vault members. So still some exclusivity there for Vault members, because we love you guys and you've supported us so much over the years and let us build to what we are. So I'm always looking for ways to make you guys feel extra special. Okay. Gribbird's son, can we get Blood and Plunder or Oak and Iron bat reps on a regular basis? Luca and Josh killed it with how awesome their vids were. That is up to the companies that produce those, because those were sponsored videos, so they actually paid us to play those games. Not that we didn't enjoy doing it, but so it's up to them if they're going to make that regular. Because for us, we're limited in our budget and what we can produce, so we have to stick with the more popular games. But not that the other games aren't good, but just popularity to get the views and vault members and all that. Phantom Baz 77, if you could take a holiday in any of the mortal realms, which and why? The Realm of Beasts, hands down, is my favorite realm. I've mentioned this before when I did the Traveling Through the Realm series, because it's full of meat eaters. And I love steak and bacon and fish and all that kind of stuff. And apparently it's the best place in all the mortal realms to get the best tasting meat, and apparently the best chefs and all that kind of stuff. I kid you not. Also, it seems like a nice place to be, besides, like the dinosaurs and the huge beasts that want to eat you. But you know what? Every mortal realm has its horribleness too. So it just looks like a nice Jurassic World kind of place to be. Oh, Mr. Inquisitor, you asked me a question about a paint scheme. What do you think a good, not overly used paint scheme for demonettes would be? I've been looking at color theory articles for what feels like days. I got no idea. I'm sorry. You have to wait for somebody who actually paints their miniatures to ask those kind of questions. I don't actually really paint miniatures. Chai 5, any plans on running a Blackstone Fortress campaign? We're definitely planning on playing Blackstone Fortress. We finally have all the miniatures painted up. Lee did a great job on those, with some help from Steve and Luca, but mainly Lee. So we do plan on playing the game. Hopefully sometime next week you will see us playing. We might even do it on a live stream if we can get it all figured out in time for that. And also we kind of need to do some live stream games because we need to get that all organized for when we do the role-playing game. So it'll be a good dry run for that. Blood God 245, have you ever thought about doing a Chaos-style Deathwatch campaign at all? Oh, definitely. Yeah, we tried out the Orc one, so the other ones make sense. I've thought of Necron ones as well. Basically, the idea is just as a small group of guys or a small group of characters that you focus on. And so, yeah, that to me is what a Deathwatch-style campaign is. Mason 859, which Orc culture do you think is best? Are you talking like Gork versus Mork, or are you talking about like the different clans? I like the color scheme of the Bad Moons. I think Bad Moons, not just for the color scheme, but just the overall ideas behind them. Blind Zeb, where are the boys sitting and painting now? Well, Steve has joined me. Where Colin used to be in the office with me, but now he's in here, and Steve is now out there. So he's actually airbrushing, like right outside that door right now. You may be able to hear a low rumble. That is the airbrush compressor, and he's painting more of his orcs. Luca is joining Josh down in his office because his office is big enough, so he'll be down there. Lil Rocker Dude, for live battle reports, how will y'all be attempting to stream with a freehand camera? Maybe look into NDI-capable devices. We weren't planning on doing live battle reports. Now, if you do like Blackstone Fortress, that's different. It's like a board game, so you can have static cams, and it's fine. For a role-playing game, same thing, static cams with one camera that Colin will have to operate a little bit from a distance to see the miniatures. But live battle reports is not currently on our docket. I'm not going to say we're not going to do it. I'm just saying that I'm not currently interested in doing it at this moment. We may experiment with it, but I'm more looking at doing other shows that are not live battle reports. Segendary, any suggestions on books to read to get into Age of Sigmar lore? Yes, definitely. I can give you a few. City of Secrets is great. Soul Wars by Josh Reynolds is awesome. The what's the name of the series with the Hallowed Knights? The Hallowed Knights series with Josh Reynolds is awesome as well. Those are the big ones. Spear of Shadows, I think is also Josh Reynolds actually, or it might be, I don't remember all the authors. Josh Reynolds is one of my favorite Age of Sigmar authors, so I've really been enjoying his stuff. All those are good to kind of give you a better feel for it. Don Cernet, Matt, which is your favorite Dungeons & Dragons character class? I don't currently have a favorite. I'm currently playing a bard in the campaign where I'm a player, not a DM, and I'm really enjoying that. It was a toss-up between that and the barbarian, but I could see myself enjoying a lot of the other ones. But a lot of times when it comes to choosing a character class, for me, it's seeing what the rest of the group wants to do, because you want to make sure you have a couple tanks, a couple strikers, and then a one or two support as well. So if there's a couple people that really want to play fighters and barbarians, well, then you don't want to also just jump in and do that. You want to go for one of like the rangers or rogues or warlocks or wizards or bard or cleric, that kind of stuff. So I can't say I have a favorite one, but I am enjoying playing a bard. Actually, when we play, I bring my ukulele to the table, and because my bard plays a lute, and I annoy the heck out of Steve. It's great, but he loves it secretly, no matter what he says. Benesek, if you could create any army in Age of Sigmar, what would it be? That's easy. it would be the Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum for Age of Sigmar. And now before you go, oh, that sounds dumb. Basically, the idea is that right now we've got the Free Peoples, but in the Ironweld and Dispossessed, all that kind of stuff, to me, they just brought them over because they were the older ones and they had to give them rules. But what we need is a free guild army. And the free guild army would have tanks. You could bring the steam tanks over, maybe redo them, make them bigger. But you could also have like bigger tanks. They actually talk about these in some of the books, like these moving fortresses and all that. So you're totally can bring in your, they don't have to be transports, but sure, make them transports. But they're more artillery and tanks. But then they like to talk in City of Secrets, for example. You're in the city of Excelsior. They talk about having, I think there's 9 different regiments of Free Guild, and each regiment has its own color scheme and heraldry, and they each have their own responsibility. Some of them take care of the artillery, some of them take care of other things. And so there's a lot there that you could, like, that could be all your different regiments. Like they kind of put that in with the Stormcast Eternals. They've done that with, I don't know, Deepkin and some other ones as well. So it totally makes sense. And essentially it would be the Imperial Guard of Age of Sigmar. We've already got the Space Marines, which is Stormcast Eternals. So the Imperial Guard actually works even better in a fantasy setting. Just the regular humans. But it wouldn't just be humans, it could be dwarves as well. Humans and dwarves. Elves maybe get mixed in there, but not so much. I always see them as separate from that kind of thing. Karnath, any plans to do some Adeptus Titanicus battle reports? Plans, yes. Nothing super solid, though. Okay, well, I'm going to switch over. I will come back to these questions. I want to read a bunch of Vault member questions. Nullpot, hey Matt, Quirk has been with the site forever. How come there has been no word all about him leaving? It feels really weird since you are such a personality-driven company and your employees are the reason many members join the Vault. I know I'd probably leave the site if yourself or Steve would leave. It seems to me the silence is fodder for rumors. Thanks and keep chewing. Well, it's a tough one. When an employee no longer works for MiniWarGaming, whether they leave or they're dismissed, you have to be careful about how you handle that as an employer. It's really none of our business to go talking about it. If Quirk wants to talk about it personally, on his own Twitter or Facebook, then he's welcome to do that, and you can talk about it all he likes, hopefully without, representing things properly, or whoever else would stop working here. But I always get this question. Whenever somebody leaves, the same thing happens. Some people actually, I've even had people demand, they're like, we have the right to know. It's like, actually, you don't. You really don't. The employee has the right to privacy, and we have the right to that kind of, making sure everything is good. And so Quirk no longer works for MiniWarGaming. I'm not going to go to the details why. You may or may not see him in future battle reports. That's kind of our official statement, and that's all I'll keep saying. And it's funny, the different comments. I've seen people defending me doing that, but I've also seen people very belligerent saying, how dare you not tell us? It's, we should be able to know. I'm a Vault member, so I'm owed an explanation. It's like if I buy, excuse the comparison here, but if I buy hamburgers regularly from McDonald's, it doesn't give me the right to know all the going-ons with what's from McDonald's. I know it's different because here it's personalities, and you're buying into wanting to watch certain personalities, but it's just not something that we can just go around and talk about like that. So you just have to accept that's part of this business, is that employees will come and go, that nobody here will work here forever. That's a guarantee, because eventually everybody dies. So at the very least, somebody will die and no longer work here. So that one we'd probably tell you, though. So that's just it. That's all I'm going to say about it. So I'm not going to answer any more questions in this live sit and talk about Quirk. Aaron, Matt, do you think that the popularity of the Deathwatch series is unique to 40k Deathwatch Space Marines? Would you be equally successful with a 30k Black Shields or Imperial Guard kill team? Personally, I find the leveling character and story focus to be the big draw, regardless of the faction or game system actually being represented. It's a great question, one that I've kind of experimented with. For example, we did the Orc Deathwatch. Now, obviously, it was clearly ripping off the name, but they're really different than the Deathwatch, as they were all very orky, and actually much more powerful than the Deathwatch. We also did the Watchers in Death for Age of Sigmar, which was also a clear rip-off of Deathwatch. And I can rip off myself, although I want. It was an Age of Sigmar version. And we also did like Spell Hunters, for example, which is not Deathwatch. It was a group of wizards, but it's the same idea where you're following a small group and they're upgraded. So I'm not sure what the X factor in there is. I have a feeling that it has to do with the fact that people like following individual characters, like you said. But I think there's also an appeal to Space Marines. I think that's what it comes down to. When we did the Orc Deathwatch, it didn't do nearly as well popularity-wise as our regular Deathwatch. It just didn't. And you can't say, well, it was only the first one, so maybe it needs time to build up, because our very first Deathwatch campaign, Augustine Station, was an instant success. It just resonated with people. People loved it. And so it's hard to say. And there's a lot of other factors too. Like our first Deathwatch campaign had 4 different employees in it. Steve, oh man, I'm going to remember everybody who was in it. Steve, Dave, and Quirk. Was he the third? I want to say it's Quirk. Those were the 3 that played in that original one. And then like, whereas other ones, we might only have 1 other employee as the cast member. So I noticed that campaigns that use more employees can sometimes do better. Sometimes. But it's let me tell you this. It's kind of frustrating because there's no perfect formula that I have discovered for what people will like. Except that, no, there's no except that. There's so many things that we've done that it's like, oh, this is very popular. We should do it again. And we do it again, and the second time, total wash. Didn't do anything. Whereas other things, we weren't popular the first time and become way more popular the second time. Deathwatch is probably the only one that's been consistently popular. We've done 4 seasons of it now, and every single time it's been very popular. And everything else that we do, it just seems like we're always throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks and seeing what doesn't. And that's why we have to constantly innovate. The only thing that the thing I say is the only thing that makes me feel better about all this is that Hollywood, who's been in business a lot longer than us, are doing the same thing still. They're still making a bunch of crap. You'd think by now they would know exactly what audiences want. And of course, there is some things that we know that the audiences want, but I'm not willing to go down to that level to just go to those base desires. But you look at like Iron Man is always my example. Iron Man 1 was just this huge success. I don't know if they expected it to be such a good success. Iron Man 2 sucked. It was okay. I enjoy watching it, but let's face it, it wasn't Iron Man 1. And we can go into a long debate about movies and structures and all that, but why weren't they able to just do it again and generate the same success? Whereas then you get like Transformers, and they just keep making money with that crap. And it's just like, maybe I understand why, but I tried so hard to watch those movies. The first one was, all right. But then after that, it just got worse and worse and worse. And so it's very subjective. It's hard to know. Even studios don't know exactly what's going to make the money. They get surprised by things like Black Panther being so popular was a surprise to Marvel Studios as well. Like they just don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work. A long-running series that's always been popular can all of a sudden just take a hit with the audience because of one little change that you didn't realize would have such a big impact. And maybe it's not even that change. Maybe something else. Maybe another show came out that set expectations. It's very hard to know what exactly you need to do in order to make the audience happy. You can ply through analytics, analyze numbers all you want, and that'll give you an idea. But in the end, you have to just kind of go with your gut, which hopefully your instinct gets better the longer you've been doing it, and just go from there. So I don't know is my ultimate answer to why it's popular. I have my ideas. Peter James, Matt, why are you the coolest staff member at MiniWarGaming? It's the gray hair. It's all the gray hair. That must be it. Right, Colin?
Yes.
Colin agrees. Technosaurus. Hey, Matt, as you love your Tyranids, I was wondering what your favorite Tyranid units are for competitive play, or one you just love the design and looks of. First off, I'm not a big fan of the way the Tyranids look. I've said this many times before. I actually think they look pretty bad. I'm a big StarCraft fan, or at least it used to be, with Brood Wars, and I love Zerg. So I played Tyranids because they're Zerg-like, but they look kind of dumb. The Termagant's holding the gun. Like, they were made in the 80s. They look like they're made in the 80s. And even though when they make newer units, they kind of keep with the aesthetic. So there are some good-looking Tyranid units, but for the most part, they always get ruined with weird guns sticking out. It's like, well, come on, a biological thing wouldn't need to hold a weapon. I don't care how it evolved. It could just, fire it from its back or from, little things. Like, you look at the Zerg, basically, in StarCraft. But I love the lore of Tyranids, and I hate where they went with the lore for Zerg in StarCraft. I think it was all right. I enjoyed StarCraft 2, but it kind of got really, I don't know if anime is the right word, but it got really fantastic. It was never sci-fi really to begin with, as much as it's set in the future. It's still a very fantasy setting. But I don't know, it's just they went from being this terrifying mindless thing, just with this overmind overseeing everything, which was just an entity that evolved from it to, now it's just controlled by Kerrigan, and everybody talks like people, and now she's good, and it's just kind of boring. So I'm not a big fan of the way they design, so I'll answer the other question. What's my favorite Tyranidir for competitive play? That would be the Zoanthropes and the Neurothropes, just because they were broken with how much damage they can do with Smite, even with the nerf to Smite. Also, if you could design a new Tyranid model to add to the army, what would it be? I would scrap all the Tyranids, and I'd start from scratch, and focus on a more animalistic design to them is what I would do. Demon Wolf, Matt, when will we see what that evil mech lord does to Inquisitor Ren? Well, Luca is working on the next Deathwatch campaign, and that will continue the story of Inquisitor Ren. And I say Luca, but Miles Drake will be writing that as well. So I've worked with them to make sure they're going in the direction I want them to, because there's an overall goal in mind. But Luca will be GMing that one. So you'll see. Hopefully soon, you'll see that. Dragoon 9919 and hello Matt, I hope you and the family are well, and I had 2 questions for you. 1, of all the narrative campaigns you've done, which has been your favorite and why? That's a good question. I'm usually tired of any of them by the time I'm finished, ready to move on to the next one. ADD like that. But there's certain parts of certain narrative campaigns that I really loved, like the way that Watchers in Death started, I absolutely loved. We're trying to do that with Yagvir and Tora, which you'll see soon. Like you always get nostalgic when you think of the original ones. Like I think of the original Fate of Fayum or Storms of Ixia. Those ones were really cool. I really liked the Utgard infestation I did with Leland, with the Sisters of Battle versus Genestealer Cult, before Genestealer Cult had their own book, and I had to make up all the rules for them. Wasn't that hard. Just Imperial Guard and some Tyranids. Yeah, they all for different reasons. It's moments. They create these interesting moments that you can't predict or write, where a character that you didn't expect to be interesting becomes interesting. I think I like the Khrushchevs and the Knums, if you recognize those names from the narrative campaigns, where they're just secondary characters that became primary characters because of things that they did. So those are ones that stand out in my mind. Okay, so I don't think this is updated for me, Colin, just for the recent events and all that kind of stuff.
Has there been a person subscribed 1 minute ago?
No.
So I have one that's 1 minute ago from YouTube.
I have some that follow, but not very many. I have 1 minute, but they don't seem to be updated. For example, has anybody, and it's okay if nobody has, but has anybody donated? Has that shown up at all?
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
I have not seen any donations. I also don't think I have Twitch on here.
You just lost Twitch now?
Well, no. On here. I think this is all YouTube recent events. I'm not seeing any Twitch recent events.
We're still figuring out all this technology, mumbo jumbo stuff.
But I'm seeing donations through I've seen past donations through the Streamlabs link, so.
Okay.
In theory, they should still be showing up. I don't think I have Twitch.
Okay. We'll just keep going. We're just trying to figure out all this technology, make sure everything's working properly. Looks like we have almost 200 people on the stream, which is great. If you're watching us on YouTube, just a reminder that if you want to ask a question for me to answer, you need to go to twitch.tv/MiniWarGaming, and in the Twitch chat, put !ask, and then you can ask your question. That'll put it in the queue. I cannot guarantee that I'll get to all the questions. Actually, I can guarantee that I will not get to all the questions, because already I'm looking at how many there are, and there's tons. But I'm not necessarily going in order either. I'm kind of grabbing questions as I look at them. A couple more Vault member questions, and then I'll go back to the live chat. Wait a second. The second question from Dragoon. 2, just got news. My wife is pregnant with our first child and was wondering if you had any advice for a first-time dad. Well, congratulations. Prepare for your life to be totally changed. I was trying to find the appropriate word. As a father of 4 kids, I can say that being a father is the hardest thing I have ever had to do, and the most satisfying thing, but the hardest thing. It is wonderful and awful, but wonderful, but awful. Let's just put it that way. You're going to have many sleepless nights. You're going to go through things that you never thought that you had to go through. And I think it's I think it's awesome, and I think it's worth it for people to do that. But it is tough. And so you have to just get ready for your life to completely change. And for the better and for the worse. It's going to get harder, but also it'll be more satisfying sometimes. So you have to, in my mind, it's like, I noticed that society usually, as a general rule, not everybody, has a tendency to try to find the way to have the easiest life. Everything is focused on how to make your life easier. Win the lottery so that you don't have to work anymore. Figure out how to overcome these problems so you never have to worry about them again. It's like, but life is hard, and it's supposed to be. We're here for an experience. We're here to grow. And so avoiding everything that's hard is actually the way to have the least interesting life, the least happy life as well. And so congratulations and good luck. And I don't have much more advice than that. Just be prepared for it to be hard, but be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that it's hard. That's just part of it. And it'll never stop being hard for a very long time. So my oldest is almost 9. So I can't give advice for what it's going to be like once they're adults, because I'm not there yet. Ask me again in 20 years, I guess. But congratulations, that's awesome. Okay, let's answer a few more questions from the chat. The Real Corey, are you going to start hosting live games in the future with the new studios? Yes. That's an easy one. The Glacial Geek, who's, hey, you're coming next week, aren't you? Yeah, you're coming next week to film with us. So I'm excited for that. Have you guys started making plans for when you move into the bunker with all the new studios, or are you waiting to actually make the move before? Oh, it's not showing me the whole comment. Can I click on it? Tell me I can click on it.
Is there like a character limit?
Yeah, it just kind of disappears at the end. No. Well, I probably can get the gist of the question. We haven't really started making plans yet because it's still a few months out, and we don't really plan much more than a few months in advance. It'll be a big move, and once we really know the move-in date, that's when we'll start getting everything in line to actually have guests. And so I'm guessing that we won't really truly get going with the vault or going with the new bunker until probably 2020. That doesn't mean that we won't have people staying there. I just mean like it'll take months for us to kind of get the systems in place and figure out all the ins and outs of hospitality and running events and all that. So 2019 will be our growing year. So people will definitely be able to come, but yeah, should be interesting. Uncle Servo, assuming the D&D campaign is a success, what other role-playing games would you like to try? Well, we already have plans to do Wrath and Glory for 40K in the new year, early in the new year. And I definitely want to do the Age of Sigmar role-playing game when that comes out. I've been told that it's coming out later, 2019. So those are two I definitely want to try, and we'll see from there. But if RPGs become a main part, you'll see us do a lot of things, and we'll probably have some Vault-exclusive role-playing game shows as well. Ferris Manus, the something or other, it's cutting it off. Yep, it won't let me click on it and open it up. Will Vault members get a discount for room and board at the new studio? We haven't worked out those details. I'm thinking there will be some sort of perk for being a Vault member, but I can't say yet what it is because honestly, we haven't decided. Mr. Mogo III, I am a Vault member. Where do we ask questions? So these are questions that were asked beforehand, as the tradition was in our old sit and talks. So Vault members, for asking Josh questions for next week, if you want to submit questions before the show, then essentially wait for this sit and talk to go up on our website, and just like you would before, then you go on that sit and talk and you ask questions for Josh. Josh will then print off the ones from the Vault members, and he'll do what I'm doing, which is read some from the chat and read some from the Vault members. We're not going to get through all of either of them, but at least, and these ones are randomized, so it doesn't matter the order in which you put them in. So yeah, so it's all good. Oh, pick random. I can actually pick random. That's even better. That way it doesn't matter the order in which people are asking their questions. I can start doing that, pick random. So don't, if you feel bad, you're like, oh, I just came on, my question's going to be buried in the queue. It's like, no, I'm actually going to start picking random questions. Boom. Oh, I did it like that. That's weird. Rain Bond. Matt, because you are a fantasy novel fan, would you ever make a D&D session in the Way of Kings Stormlight Archives universe? Probably not. I'd probably just focus on creating my own universe. So I doubt that. Although I do love Brandon Sanderson and his books. All right, pick random. Gray Army Gaming. Has your Latter-day Saint background with its rich tradition of narrative in any way influenced or inspired your love for storytelling? I don't see how that would. But I don't think so. But that's a weird question. I'll just say that. GeoFits4, if MiniWarGaming hadn't been the success it's been for you guys, what kind of work do you think you'd be doing now? Well, what I was doing before was marketing consulting, and I was enjoying that. So I'd also considered becoming a teacher. I love computer science, so programming was always an option for what I was kind of leaning towards. So any of those. I think I'd always have my own business, though. I enjoy that challenge of running my own business. Bonalds, did Spell Hunters do well? I personally really enjoyed it because of the progression from collecting spells and the characters it developed. It did well, yeah. I considered it a successful campaign. It wasn't like the most popular we've ever done, but not every campaign can be. Only one of them can be at a time, right? So I'd say it did well. You'll probably see more of that story continued. Phantom Baz 77, would you ever consider having an in-house Age of Sigmar tournament? Yeah, definitely. Once we have the new bunker, we're going to be having all sorts of tournaments and events, lots of non-tournament events and some tournament events as well. So you can look forward to that. Eagle X111, yellow cloak for Tech Priest Dominus? Sure. Although I hear yellow is hard to paint. Archon01, I'm sorry if you've answered this already, but when will there be another narrative campaign next? Will it be 40k or Age of Sigmar or others? Well, we have Yagmir and Tor coming up and Deathwatch coming up. Currently running is the Gorka Morka campaign. Age of Sigmar it's been a bit delayed because it's taken me a little longer to get all this together for Yagmir and Tor than I thought. But that's the next planned one, and Deathwatch for 40k. So you should look forward to those both soon. Willie B, have you ever thought about franchising at the MiniWarGaming brand to other content creators? Could help with regional growth. Okay, I've been asked this question before, and I think, I'm not sure if you understand totally what franchising means. Regional growth makes no sense when you're online. Franchising makes sense when you have a business that serves a population in a geographic area. For example, a restaurant. Usually people eating at that restaurant will be ones in a certain radius, and it starts to kind of taper out after that. Or a gas station, or any other thing where it's a physical presence where customers have to come to you. So by franchising, you open yourself, you kind of plop down a new restaurant, which then serves another area. Franchising an online business doesn't make any sense. Now, the bunker, on the other hand, franchising that may make more sense and having other bunkers. But the problem is part of the draw of the bunker is coming to the place where we film. It's kind of like the location where MiniWarGaming happens. So if we just open up these other locations, that just becomes an events area like anybody else has. So franchising doesn't really make sense. Let's just put it that way. Not for our business model. Big Friendly Wargamer, would you ever consider live streaming other games like you did with Silver Tower? That video was so funny. Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the things I'd really like to get into doing. Things like Blackstone Fortress. I'm thinking of live streaming that. I don't want to say plan on because planning that's something for like professionals. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants here trying to figure this all out, as you can probably tell by watching us right now. Just a reminder, if you're on YouTube, come on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/MiniWarGaming, because I'm answering questions from there only. And you can ask a question by putting !ask and then asking your question. Random. And I am picking random questions, so it's okay if you're coming way later because you just add it in there and I click pick random and it picks random. Nike 321, who is your favorite employee? Oh, that's a mean question. Right now it's Colin because he can hear me. But whoever's listening, you're my favorite employee. Hold on, I'm just trying to get through here. Whoa, this is weird. Why is it giving me multiples? You know what? I'm going to swing over and answer some vault questions. Shipping Wizard. Hey, Matt, love the content. Big fan of your narrative campaigns. One of the reasons why I became a vault member and still keep it to this day. I have several questions, though. One, and thank you, by the way. In the Blood Angels campaign, why were there Necrons in that one mission? Was always confused by that. I know which ones you're talking about. The ones that were cloaked to look like something else. They looked like orcs and then they became Necrons. That was in Snagabog's Greed? Is that the one that was in? With the Blood Angels versus orcs? That's a long time ago, and I don't remember. I'll be honest. I always like in my narrative campaigns setting up side plots, things that could become other things, but most of them never get visited, I'll be honest. All right, I'll be very honest. It's kind of like somebody, you know when you watch like a really bad movie and at the end you see that they set it up for a sequel and you're like, ha, that's cute. It's not going to be a sequel. That kind of thing. So they do all sorts of them. 2, can we expect another Sisters of Battle narrative campaign in the near future, or a Deathwatch style campaign with non-Space Marine inquisitorial agents? Sisters of Battle, we're of course are going to be getting an update next year, so we probably will be doing more coverage of them at that point, and maybe a narrative campaign. Can't say because that's way further than like next week, so what am I supposed to know what we're going to do? And a future Deathwatch style campaign with non-Space Marine inquisitorial agents. So you're asking for inquisitorial agents that are not Space Marines, not Space Marine inquisitorial agents, meaning all of that. No plans for that either, but I'm sure you may or may not see that in the future. How's that for a commitment to an answer? I love the questions. Do you ever plan on doing this? Let me clarify. We have ideas, and we just kind of film what as we're going along. We kind of film as guests come in what they want to play, and as we get ideas. We're usually thinking more than a couple months out. I know that's probably a bad thing, but the thing is, that's just the way it is. That's how we do. 3, would you consider doing an Arbides narrative campaign, considering there are third-party companies that make not Arbides models? Probably not. Not sure. What is the airspeed of an unladen swallow? Well, that depends. Is it European or an African swallow? Okay, Murder Mage. Matt, have you heard of the White Wolf RPG games that comprise their World of Darkness universe, most notably Mage, Werewolf, and Vampire the Masquerade? Yeah, I've definitely heard of those. And if role-playing games do become a bigger part of MiniWarGaming, would you ever consider covering any of these games? Once again, that's the question that I can't answer because I don't know yet if role-playing games are going to be a main part, and if they do, what will strike our interest. Essentially, what you're watching when you're watching MiniWarGaming is a bunch of guys playing what they feel like playing. And so the armies that you see the guys playing are typically the armies that they want to play. And so when you say, hey, can you make sure you play more of this army? It's like, well, no, because if none of the guys want to play that army, I'm not going to make them. With some exceptions, we might, like if an army's new, we might try to push to get that out. But for the most part, I want the guys to play what they want to play. And even if I notice that certain guys don't like Age of Sigmar as much as 40k, then they'll play more 40k, or somebody wants Age of Sigmar more than 40k, they'll play more Age of Sigmar. I want everybody playing what they want to. So the way I gauge what I want to do next is I usually say, hey, I was thinking of doing this. And if all of a sudden I've got 6 heads pop into my office having overheard that, I know I've hit on something that I should do. That usually means that it'll be a good idea. And so that's kind of how we play it. So Vampire Masquerade, in order for that or any game or role-playing game to be covered by us, everybody, or there'd have to be a bunch of players who are all really interested and somebody who can run it who's very interested as well. So that's kind of where we're at for that. Llama79. Matt just saw the Adepticon special mode preview. Another Primaris Lieutenant. Ugh. Seeing how Colin didn't get the opportunity to ask you in the open vault last week, what kind or type of character would you want added to 40k or Age of Sigmar if you had a chance to design your own? You know what? I've been really enjoying the non-standard stuff that's been coming out with, like, for example, Rogue Trader and even Blackstone Fortress. I would want more of that. I don't have anything in particular in mind, but I would love more of the things that don't belong to an army. And with Blackstone Fortress, they give you rules to play them in 40k. I couldn't care less about that. Give me the miniatures. Let me use them in my narrative campaigns. Let me use them in my board games. And when we play 40k Wrath and Glory, those will make great NPC models and other stuff as well. Those are the kind of things I want added. More of that kind of stuff. I love that stuff that they've been putting out. I want more of it. More. Another hundreds of them. So I have such huge variety of awesomely sculpted and painted models to use in my narrative campaigns. Okay, another one from our vault members. Gmen226. I was wondering if you can get any army for 30k, 40k, and Age of Sigmar, which ones would it be? Assuming it would cost you nothing and you got the army fully painted to high quality standards. I kind of already do get everything that I want, because we have a very vast collection here. Not sure if you've been watching our Why I Love series, showing just how many miniatures we have here. If there's a gap, then we fill it. And that's actually a big part of our budget is buying new models and terrain, because it's important for us to have that breadth of coverage for all of the videos that we are making. So I don't have one that I'm really lacking right now because I'm able to get them. So that's kind of where I'm at there. Okay, let's go back to the live chat and answer some more questions there. Sophanum 2014. When are you guys predicting to move to the new studio? We're hoping by April or May next year, but we'll see. Kev Berry. Any chances of seeing Andy from the Storms of Ixia campaign again? That's a great question. I haven't actually seen Andy for a while. Andy was the one player who played for part of the Storms of Ixia campaign. That was years ago. So I haven't actually seen him. So I don't know what he's up to. Big Walk 7676. Matt, how will your rates for stay at the bunker compare to other hotels in the area that your guests usually stay at? We're not going to be the cheapest option. Let me just put it that way. Because it's going to be like packages that you get with events and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a cheap place to stay, our bunker won't be a cheap place to stay. Now, it's not going to be like ridiculously expensive, but we're not going to be like, okay, what's everybody else charging? Let's go below that. That's not the point. And besides, we only have a few rooms, so if we're charging really low prices, then we'll probably lose money on it. Because it's different when you're maintaining a whole hotel, the cost of maintaining each room is much lower than if you just have a handful of rooms. So it won't be cheaper than going to a local hotel. So you'll be paying more for the experience of being there as well. Kind of like when you go to conventions, the hotel at the convention center is always the most expensive of all the neighboring ones. Kairu Fox. Matt, favorite 40K video game? Okay, I've played Dawn of War 2 and 3. I've played Space Marine. I have played Space Hulk. Played a bit of Battlefleet Gothic. I played the iPad version of Battlefleet Gothic, which I really enjoyed. Space Marine is probably the most fun that I had, but I'm not a big fan of how gory it is, and so that kind of stopped me from continuing to play it. But it was probably out of all of them the one that I had the most fun with. Dawn of War series, of course, is fun. Dawn of War 2, I've played a lot of. Dawn of War 3, I just couldn't really get into it as much. And I didn't play Dawn of War 1. Just by the time I played 40K and got into the computer games, Dawn of War 2 was already out. Dang it, once again. It's not showing me the whole comment. Come on, you can show me the whole comment. It's okay. Goran Zakian, Matt, you mentioned in the past that it's possible we might see more old World Wars, Warhammer Fantasy in the future. Is that still possible with you moving all your models, blah, 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 blah. I'm assuming, because I see, on to circular bases. There are still some armies on square bases, and also armies owned by certain employees and guests that are on square bases. I'll be honest, it's not a huge priority of mine. We were wondering if it was a good switch to drop Warhammer Fantasy, go to Age of Sigmar, because at the time they were both doing around the same view-wise. Vault sign-up-wise, Age of Sigmar was clearly the winner. But when we made the switch and then Age of Sigmar 2nd edition came out, it became clear that that was the right choice. Warhammer Fantasy, for as well as it was doing, Age of Sigmar just soared way past it. So there's no plans. You may see it occasionally, but once again, asking me plans for the future, I just don't know. You might just get the right two guests who come in with two armies, and they're like, hey, can we play Warhammer Fantasy for 3 days? And we're like, sure. You know what? Sure. Steve and Colin, go play for 3 days Warhammer Fantasy, make a bunch of battle reports, and they'll go up for a few weeks. So I won't say that won't happen. I just can't say that it will happen. Rubio, did Watchers in Death do better than normal Age of Sigmar content? I think you tuned the rules so well in that campaign. Well, thank you. I actually thought that they were a little too good for the Watchers in Death. They became a little too powerful by the end, but that's usually what happens in the Death Watch. Yes, it does better than normal Age of Sigmar content, but that's not hard. Narrative campaigns, with like 1 or 2 exceptions in all the narrative campaigns that I've done, do better than regular battle reports, always, which is why they're so important for us to do. But they're also way harder to do than regular battle reports, which is why you don't see as many. Dr. Vulcan, how has the viewership of the live streams been compared to the normal content? Just curious. Viewership of the live streams been compared to the normal content. You mean like views on the live streams compared to views on our normal content, which is essentially what you said? They're not really comparable because one is live and the other one is on demand. Like for example, when Critical Role goes live, I think they get something like anywhere from 40 to 60,000 live viewers, which sounds like a lot. But then when they post the video in Geek and Sundry, then they get like another 800,000 views. So the the normal views, the non-live views are way higher, and yet the live streaming still makes sense. Live streaming doesn't have to have as many views as the normal content views. Either way, the live streaming is not replacing anything that we do. In fact, it's going to allow us to make even more content than we already do. So, and it's also very early to tell. We're still growing. Right now, what do we have? We have over 200 people on our live stream right now, which I'm very happy about. We're trying to keep our numbers on average above 75 so we can become a Twitch partner eventually in the next couple months. Oh, I already answered that one. Why is it not removing the ones that I already answered? Miliardo MK. Hi, Matt. Can you guys move to the UK instead? My wife would be on board with that. She loves England. But her dad is actually from England. But no. Let's just do this. Yeah, see, if I click them fast, it like puts them all in the same place. Ooh, this is a good question because I like the answer. Night Ruler, will you guys do an Age of Sigmar Gathering of Might game in the near future? I'm curious to see how much faster the game plays under these rules, the Apocalypse version of Age of Sigmar. Gathering of Might, like you said, is Apocalypse for Age of Sigmar. And today, I was just planning that. So yes, I don't have the dates yet for when we're playing it, but we're actually planning to do some Apocalypse for 40k and Gathering of Might for Age of Sigmar, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then that'll go out shortly after that. All right, let's get a couple more questions before I go back to Vault ones. Yeah, see, I already answered that question. Still figuring this out. Akronatar, do you see yourselves as having competition? That's a great question because some businesses foolishly will deny that they have competition because nobody else does exactly what they do. We have a ton of competition. Now, competition, in my mind, there's degrees of competition, degrees of separation. For example, Netflix is competition with us. Because when somebody cancels a Vault membership, the typical reason that they say, whenever I put surveys out there or ask them afterwards, is I can't afford it. And to that I say, you sure? Because it's pretty cheap. And I bet you're still paying for Netflix and then the $100 of internet that it takes to watch Netflix. I bet you're still buying all sorts of other non-essential stuff too. So when somebody says they can't afford your product, unless your product literally is ridiculously expensive, like a luxury car or a humongous house or a vacation, then most likely what they're saying is, I don't see the value in your product. And so that's like the degrees of separation, of course, would be they need to pay their bills, so that's technically competition to us, but obviously that's not what we're talking about. If you mean competition like when somebody's like, I want to watch MiniWarGaming, no, instead I'll watch this other thing that's in the same industry. Yes, definitely. There's a lot of really good YouTube channels out there that make battle reports or talk shows or do live streaming in the miniature wargaming arena. And then you do 1 degree of separation and you've got the tabletop arena where you have Geek and Sundry, for example. They're technically competition. Now, the difference in kind of the online market is that your competition can also be partners, even though they're technically competition, just because it's not always an either or. Like, for example, I am hungry right now. I have to choose something to eat. Once I eat enough, typically I am full and will not eat again for a few more hours, typically. But when it comes to viewing, usually no one content producer can put out so much stuff that you're going to watch them and nobody else. I watch stuff on Netflix, I watch stuff on iTunes, I watch stuff a lot on YouTube. And on YouTube I'm watching all sorts of different channels. And so yes, there is constant competition of which ones are getting my views, but cross promotions can still do a lot of good right there. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of competition in our industry, in our immediate adjacent industries, and then all the way out, a competition for the time for entertainment. So yes, lots of competition. But if your question is probably competition within our industry, the answer is yeah, definitely. Definitely competition. See, I already answered that question. Skullzet DM, is Colin getting hazard pay for his injury? The dude painted a room. Okay, I didn't ask the guy to lift a bunch of weight or to like, it was one room. It's not even that big a room, Colin.
I know.
This guy claims that he used to work at a paint store and he used to do all sorts of painting. And he paints one room and all of a sudden he's like, ow, my hand hurts. No hazard pay for you, Colin.
I would like to say, when did I ever say that?
He never asked for hazard pay anyways, and maybe I would have to give it, I don't know, hazard pay maybe not, but I guess technically he could go for workers' comp or something. But I think he
I'm fine.
He's-
Don't worry about me.
I think he likes to be here too, if I'm just guessing. And he's
I
in the
do.
he's in the room with me, so of course he'll say he does. We don't actually know if that's the case because he's saying it to his boss, which doesn't always give you the most honest answers, as I have found out over my years of being an employer.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about either. You guys all go and complain about everything after work. And then I hear about it weeks later. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me, Luca, that you didn't have a desk for the first 6 months that you worked for me? You never told me. He's like, you had a table. You seemed perfectly fine. But you go and tell everybody else afterwards that you don't have a desk. And finally Steve speaks up. And then the next day you have a desk because I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get a desk. Whatever, man. It's fun being an employer more than it's not. All right, let's get some more vault questions. What are we at? 2:56. We got some more time. Let's do some more. Okay, this is a good one. Arzarnel, a vault member. Hello, Matt. Can you tell us if, knowing what you know now about your businesses, would you have done anything different in hindsight? Yes, always. That's just a life thing, though. That it's like if I could go back, I would do things differently, and then I would learn new things that I did wrong, and then go back and do those differently. Now, you might want to know the answer to the question of what would I do differently, and well, the thing is, it's an impossible question to answer because it's a rabbit hole you can keep going deeper into. Like for example, we experimented with a lot of different kinds of content, and battle reports became very popular. Well, I would have just straight up started with battle reports. And then after a while, we started doing narrative campaigns. Years into, we started doing narrative campaigns. I would have started those way earlier. The vault turned out to be a big deal. I would have started that earlier. The store turned out to be a big money sucker. I would have closed it earlier, or not even opened it to begin with, and just focus on the video aspect of things. So there's so many things. There are certain people I wouldn't have hired. There's other people I would have hired. Hindsight is too easy. It's too easy to answer that question. But at the same time, it's impossible because then you would just make new mistakes. And then I'd be like, oh, now in hindsight, if I could go back again. And you could do that forever and ever and ever. So instead, you just move on and move forward. But it's an interesting question to think about because then you can think about how you're going to do things differently moving forward. Also, have you ever thought about using initiative cards for your RPG events? I find them an easy and useful way of tracking initiative during a session. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I'll be tracking initiative, but it'll be by some method that will make it easy. I haven't found tracking initiative to be that hard. Everybody talks about it being hard, but I just write it down on a piece of paper and it seems pretty straightforward. I don't know. Is it really that hard? What am I missing? I really enjoy your content and hope to see a new role-playing game campaign soon, even if I have to pay for it. Best regards. Well, Arsenal, the first couple will be free. And you're a Vault member, so any ones that we do for Vault members, of course, you will get. And you're a Silver Vault member too. So you even get the stuff that is exclusive to Twitch, goes to our Silver members. This is a good question too. Cuddlefish. Hey Matt, I was wondering and ever so slightly worried that all the changes MiniWarGaming is going through might be a bit of an overextension for you guys. Especially with the bunker, the effort to sustain a wider community among your workplace, and especially the hotel aspect of the whole project seems like it might be a daunting task, both in terms of effort it will take from you guys and generally the added monetary cost of the project. Do you foresee any such issues, or are you confident that it'll be sustainable? I feel exactly what you're saying, because I feel that way too. I'm like, this is an interesting risk. It's a calculated risk. One made a lot more sustainable to the fact that Hunter is the one that is actually the owner of the building, that we're not putting all our capital into the building, but it's still going to increase our costs by a lot to operate from there. We're going to be going into areas that we have no idea what we're doing, like hospitality and events, hosting, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be brand new to those things. And so, yeah, it could be a huge overextension and a big mistake for our business. And it also might be the best thing that we ever did for our business. It's hard to say. But we've weighed the risks in our mind, and we feel that it's more worth it to try it than to not try it. So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think there's going to be growing pains. There are definitely going to be growing pains. There's no way it's going to run so smoothly that from day one we're going to be making tons of money from it. I suspect that it'll be a lot of growing pains, a lot of mistakes made, a lot of money wasted. And then hopefully we'll come out of it as a very strong and sustainable business. We'll see though. Sorry for the weirdly financial question, just something I've been thinking about. Keep being awesome. Actually, those are my favorite questions. I like the business questions. One more here. That's 301, so we're almost done. I'm going to come back over to, I'm going to answer a couple more in the live chat. So pick random. Richards, a lot of my friends lately jumped from Age of Sigmar to Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth. Is MiniWarGaming planning to do some Lord of the Rings games? What do you think about Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings was the original game that Dave and I got into for Games Workshop stuff that got MiniWarGaming going. So I love Lord of the Rings. I love the lore, I love the books, I love the movies a lot. And the guys here, there are several of them who have painted up and have been playing Lord of the Rings, and I think are even planning on doing some filming of it. So you should see some Lord of the Rings coverage soon. I don't know exactly when, but I think it's a great game. Again, I already answered that question. Why are you showing me the same ones? I already answered that one. Chief Saxy Eagle, did you force Kenny to play dwarves for your Firestorm campaign, or did he choose all that pain for himself? He chose that pain for himself. You don't know Kenny if you're asking that question. I said you have to play Order, and my only request is that you don't just play the same one Order army the entire time. And he's like, I'm playing Dispossessed and Karajan Overlords. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. Yeah, he's a bit of a masochist. He enjoys that kind of thing. So that is totally all on him. And I did not make him do that whatsoever. I'm going to close asking more questions. And we're just going to pick another couple of random ones. Swamp Mist 1142 wanted to ask, was there any talk in the office of playing Monster Apocalypse? No. Zedmerg, why don't you use terrain rules for Age of Sigmar? I would kind of do, but we don't really. They don't add much to the game, really. So I think. Empty question with an empty answer. Already answered that question. Already answered that question. Come on! Get rid of the questions I've already asked. You know what? There we go. I'm just going to delete those questions right there. Already did that one. Already did that one. Already did that one. I don't know why it's showing me the same ones again.
They don't auto-delete after you read?
When I hit pick next, they do. When I hit pick random, sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It's really annoying. Ninja Fish, which employee do you like GMing the most? Me. Not because I think I'm the best GM, but because I love GMing. I love it. One more question. I already answered that one. 2+ Tough. Ooh, hi 2+ Tough. Hey Doug. I'm glad you've been diving into Age of Sigmar, and I've seen that you have tried several armies. What faction or playstyle have you found the most fun? Destruction by far. Ironjaws and Moonclan Grots are my favorite. I just like them. I like the orcs and goblins, and I like them a lot. I look forward to anything that happens to them in the future. You know what? One more person's asking. Tag8833. How big is MiniWarGaming staff? How many full-time versus part-time versus contract? Cullen's the only part-time, and that was his request because doing other stuff as well. All the other ones are full-time. How many do we have? 10? 11? 9? Did you count 9?
I think so.
And 9 full-time? We got the part-time janitor. They're technically on staff. So yeah, like around that. We're still a small company. 10-ish. And that's including Dave and myself.
Yeah, 9 and then 10 me. I think is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to stop there. Thank you so much for coming on. Reminder, if you are a Vault member and you want to ask questions for next week and you won't be able to attend the live show, make sure that when this is posted on our website that you ask the questions there for Josh, and we'll print them off. I didn't get through all of them, and I don't think we'll ever get through all of them, but you are welcome to post them anyways. We randomize which ones we pick, so it doesn't matter how late you are to the party. And we do plan on doing these every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for about an hour. that is the current plan. Things might change with the schedule. We'll let you know if it does. So stay tuned and make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, obviously. And I really appreciate all the support that we've been getting for moving over to live streaming. You guys have been awesome for that. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Happy wargaming.